Any questions from the brothers here? حياك الله خالد كيف حالك؟ طيب؟ بارك الله فيك. تفضل أخي.
What is the best time to pray the witr prayer? Because you also, of course, mentioned that I think from the one second the sins of the last third of the night. So, and also this hadith in 417 that we read that Abu Hurairah said that this prayer that told him to pray the witr before sleep.
Clear.
So, and I know also that you make night prayer, you should finish it
With the witr.
So, what is like the best?
Clear. The harmony between these things. Type. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Allahumma ghafirli. Question says, what is the best time to make Salatul Witr? You mentioned the hadith, the authentic narration, that the Prophet ﷺ says that our Lord descends to the Sama' ad-Dunya in the last part or the last third of the night. And also the hadith 417 of Abu Hurairah, he says, Awsani Khalili bi thalathin, that my close friend gave me advice to do three things. And from those things is to make witr before sleep. But a person is to wake up, pray, etc., so on and so forth. As far as the first part of the question, to keep things simple, then the ulama of Islam, they give a specific answer and a general answer. As far as the specific answer, then obviously the prayer that you make in the last part of the night, Jawf al-Layl, the hadith says, Jawf, the gut of the night, the middle of the night, the wee part of the night, that's the best time to pray, to supplicate, and to be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With regards to your prayers, with regards to finishing with witr, your dua, your istighfar, etc. Everyone understand? It's based off of many texts. Alright? As far as the general answer, then the scholars, they explain that in all of these issues that are supererogatory and voluntary, you have to manage and prioritize. And that goes back to the hadith that you mentioned about Abu Hurairah. Nawawi and others, they say, for those who fear that they won't stand at night. So it's best to make your prayer, even if it's just witr when? Before you sleep. You have to prioritize. Now, I want to seek knowledge. I want to get married. I have to go to work. I have to take care of my sick grandmother. You have to do what? Prioritize. I can't go to work and I didn't sleep a proper sleep. I would understand this. I can't do this. You have to manage. So a person may not be able to make every single prayer during the week at nighttime, on the weekends. During the weekday, I make some rak'at to make witr, and I need at least 4 hours of sleep, at least 3 hours of sleep, at least 5 hours of sleep. And others, they may say, no, I'm going to take my hours here. I'm going to get up. Why can that? If I wake up from my sleep and get a migraine, you have to do what? Prioritize. You may want to read the Quran. You may want to fast. You may want to teach a class. If I'm fasting, I can't drink my tea. I don't have the energy. Everyone has to what? Prioritize, because they are not mandatory. They are not what? Mandatory. So you have to be mindful of this. And unfortunately, in the reality is the reality, whether you like it or not. It's the truth. We live in America. You have to go to work. You have to drive. You have to be in traffic. You have to get on a bus. You have to get on a train. The simplicity of life and the time of the Salaf as-Salih is like night and day. Night and day. You live in a kafir society. You're driving a truck. You're dealing with heavy machinery. You need to be what, I will say? Well rested, to be focused and concentrated. If you're not well rested, something can happen to you. You get hurt. You can hurt others. You get fired. Who's going to take care of Saeed and Juraj and Salima? This is a reality. So you have to be mindful of the supererogatory things, and that's why there are different doors of Jannah. And that's why there are different acts for different people. Some people are naturally inclined towards knowledge, and they're best at that. Doesn't mean that they don't do anything else, but that's the what? That's my thing, one says. One says, my thing is to be a worshiper. I'm not a scholar. I don't have money. Another person, he wants to be a warrior. Is naturally bound, being strong and tough. You have to prioritize yourself. You have to prioritize your time. So you may not always have the ability, with regards to the winter, the daytime, the summertime, etc., to do everything in every single way. So the best thing is to do is to have a general schedule for your priority, and then you dip and you dab. You don't have to work. It's the summertime, the nights are shorter, the days are longer, the days are longer, the days are shorter, the nights are longer, etc. Everyone understand this? No. And this is the true meaning of having fiqh fid deen, and not to punish yourself or destroy yourself. Everyone understand this? Everybody clear on this or not in these words? It doesn't mean that we're trying to disdain this prayers, huh? I mean? But it means what? Proper. And as I said, it's a reality. A brother is in a crane or driving a major concrete truck or something heavier than that. He has to be, what I would say, full awake. I would understand this. And another brother who sits home, who does this, it's a different story. And Allah knows best. Al-muwaffaqu man waffaqahu Allah. Allahu alam.
OA Famagusta in North Cyprus. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Could you please make a brief fiqh discussion video on covering hand and face like you did with beard, isbad, tasfir, etc.?
Question OA from Famagusta, North Cyprus. Can you please make a brief or a video discussing the fiqh issues of covering the hands and the face, etc., like you've done those other videos, taswir, isbal, etc. Inshallah ta'ala. Bidnillah. Bidnillah. Jazakallah khairan.
OS Columbia, Missouri. Assalamu alaikum. Is it haram to say time is money? If it isn't permissible and someone said it, should they correct themselves of whoever they said it to?
Repeat the name and the city, Missouri, you said?
Yeah, OS Columbia, Missouri.
OS from Columbia, Missouri. Is it permissible to say time is money or impermissible to say time is money? If it is impermissible, what should we do? How do we correct it, etc.? The general rule is the impermissibility of abusing time. The impermissibility of abusing time. As the Prophet ﷺ relates to us, that Allah Azza wa Jal tells us that the son of Adam abuses me and annoys me. Yasubbu dahra wa ana dahr. He curses time and I am time. أُقَلِّبُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ. I turn the night and the day. To the end of the narration. أَوْ كَمَا قَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. The answer is, it's haram to abuse time and to curse time. But it doesn't mean that a person can't say something which is valid and correct with regards to the usage of time. A businessman, we're businessmen. Hey, Mufti, can you come to my cafe? And I'm going to give you an espresso. And I want you to sit and, we can have some good coffee and we can, I say, what? I can't because what? Time is money. I'm a businessman. I'm working. I haven't abused time. I didn't disrespect time. I didn't curse Allah or anything like this. But my time is to make money, to earn, to hustle, seeking Allah's rizq, seeking Allah's provision. So I say time is what? Time is money. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've abused time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's haram to say that. Okay, at the end of the day, if you feel uncomfortable, then don't say it. You shouldn't say it all of the time. But if you had to say it in that instance, it's not necessarily included in a hadith. It's not like you cursing time. A person says, we have to kill time. I wouldn't say that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's haram to say that. He means we're going to be sitting here for 25 minutes before the place opens up. So let's talk about something that's good. That's what's meant by killing time. And I actually putting a dagger to time and disrespecting time. And there are many other things like this, And Allah knows best. Make sense? What I'm saying? Fadal, Lutfi. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What's the ruling, let's say, on a masjid, holding like a lecture kind of thing on a Halloween night, for example, right? With the intention, let's say, okay, I don't want the kid, let's say...
Halloween.
There you go, Halloween, right?
Tell you.
But others may say that it says that you can't do that because that's,
clear.
On that,
Clear. Wa yakum. Question is from our brother Lutfi. May Allah Azza wa Jal be kind and tolerant with him. With regards to Halloween, is it permissible to halalify All Hallows Eve, as we mentioned last week, the day of remembering the saints and the martyrs and the dead, right? Light a candle. Do you have a jack-o'-lantern on your porch, Akhi? Did you carve a pumpkin? Yes or no? No. Allah knows best or no? You did, not this year. Khairan, inshallah. At the end of the day, those who say that it's best to do a lecture or to have a feast or have a party at the masjid for the kids, the Muslim youth, to keep them off the street from trick-or-treating. So now we just make a Halloween. Tahiyya. Barakallahu feekum. Those who say it's haram, it's tashabbuh bil kuffar, imitating the non-Muslims, etc. All right. So we're going to have to break this down just a little bit now. All right. So first and foremost is Abu Sa'id. Why are your children going to go trick-or-treating? Why do you fear that your children are going to dress up like Batman and Robin and Catwoman and walk around with a basket getting Snickers and Three Musketeers and Reese's Pieces? Unless your Islam is weak from the get-go. And you're a horrible father. You don't teach your children about Islam, Islamic identity, the virtue of the Eid, the kuffar, their mushrik, pagan holidays, etc. So therefore, my Islam is so weak. My children are mixed with the kuffar so much. And even if they're mixed with the kuffar, because many of our children are mixed with the kuffar, whether they go to Islamic school or public school, they're going to mix with them one way or another. They go to the store, you go to get your license. One way or another, you're going to mix with the what? Kuffar living in this country. Some people more than others. We ask Allah for protection. But even if my children are mixed with the kuffar, yo, your name is Ahmed. I named you Amina. This is where you come from. This is what you believe in. You can talk to people in a classroom. You don't have to be a robot. But these people are not your friends. This is unacceptable. This is acceptable. This is Jannah. This is fire. You teach them even if they have to do what? Mix with the kuffar. Like you go into the cold. I'm a security guard. I have to stand in the cold. So I have to do what now? I dress properly. Have something warm to drink. I have something to protect me from the wind, etc. If I have to mix in the what? In the cold. And if not, the best thing is to what? Stay indoors. But I may have to be outside. So at least arm your children of Islam and Islamic identity. I don't celebrate Halloween. So if you fear that the 30th, the 31st of October, they're going to go out trick-or-treating and got to keep them off the streets, right? And take them and lock them in the masjid for one night, then it already proves that you've failed as an Islamic parent from the get-go. Everyone understand this? You have failed. And what you are afraid that they're going to go trick-or-treating if you don't do something in the masjid. Can we agree with this or not? What's the chances of that now? You have an Islamic household. You teach your children properly. You don't have to be perfect. We're not saying perfection. Everyone has a mistake and a shortcoming. But the general strength of Islamic identity. What's the chances, that I'm afraid Roman and Josie are going to go trick-or-treating? What's the chances of that? And which I have to what? Lock the masjid and give them candy in a lecture on that night. What's the chances of that? So the whole idea of Halloween from the get-go is messed up. The whole idea is what? It's messed up. It's totally messed up. As far as is it permissible, so on and so forth, if you want to have an activity at the masjid to counter that kufr and to counter those kuffar, then that's one thing. The kids have off school, it's Christmas break, Thanksgiving weekend, etc. Why not do a lecture? That's one thing. In which we're just going to try to be like them, tone it down, Islamify it, halalify it. But in actuality, it's a Halloween party. We're cutting off the lights, we're scaring them, we're giving them candy. What is this? Everyone understand this? What is this, Yani? Give your kids candy throughout the year. Treat them throughout the year. Don't trick them what? Throughout the year. Man, ghashana, falaysa minna. He who cheats us isn't what? He who tricks us what? That's the hadith of the Prophet. There's no trick or treat in Islam. You don't trick a Muslim, period. Man ghashana, falaysa minna. He's not from us. So I don't see the need for Halloween. I see danger in Halloween. As far as taking the void of time and using it fruitfully, then that's a different story. Having a lecture, having an event, even having a dinner, but no candy. I would understand this. When I tell my children today in 2018, anything that has a rainbow on it, do not bring it in my house. If you have something with a rainbow on it, hide it. Don't let me see it. There's no rainbows, period, that I'm accepting. What's wrong with a rainbow? It's a thunderstorm in the summertime. Rain comes down and you see a what? A rainbow. A beautiful sign of Allah's creation, Allah's power. A rainbow is amazing. It's a phenomenon. Light, air, and water. It's amazing. But in 2018, there's no what? The rainbow is not okay. Even though the rainbow is originally what? A good thing. I would understand this. Even the concept of LGBTQ, if you break it down, break down each color, unity, diversity, no discrimination, that's not necessarily against the teachings of what? Islam. I don't understand this. We're being real now. If you actually studied the history of their logo, each color represents something, and they mean to unify, not to discriminate. Everyone is accepted, etc. The basis of that in Islam is generally what? Acceptable. We don't discriminate against races. You're from Indonesia. You're from there. You're from this. You're this. You're older. A man, a woman. Ilm. We don't discriminate. There's no racism. Everyone understand this? The ummah is composed of different parts. But now you're talking about this, and talking about that act, and this is okay, and that's not haram. We say no. So the rainbow is originally okay. It's a good thing. What kids What children don't like rainbows and don't like different colors and toys? It's a nice thing to have. But not in these times. And the same applies to candy on the 31st of October. My children, my kids, you're not getting no bag of candy in the masjid on this day. We'll give it to you tomorrow. We'll give it to you on the 30th, but not what? Everyone understand the point here? Everybody get the point? Having a lecture, giving the kids candy, having fun, la bas. We can't make the halal haram, but not on the 31st. Not cut off the light and turn on the lights and scare the kids and say Halloween. That's a problem. In my humble opinion, and Allah knows best, I hope that my answer is fair and impartial and based off of logic and reason. Wallahu alam.
Initials UW from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. Do you have any recommendations for the books on the conditions of La ilaha illallah?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question from the UK. Do you have any recommendations on books pertaining to the conditions of La ilaha illallah? There are many books that have been written. I would say, first and foremost, Al-Wajibat al-Mutahattimat al-Ma'rifah, along with the sharh of that. Al-Qawl al-Mufid fi Adillat al-Tawheed, Sheikh al-Wasabi, and there are other books as well. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Also, the explanations of Kitab al-Tawheed, Fath al-Majid, Taysir al-Aziz al-Hamid, alright, Ibtal al-Tandid, Naam, Qurrat Uyun al-Muwahideen, and Allah knows best.
Initials IS from Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Can you make istighfar in your language and also count it like 100, etc.?
Question comes from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Twin Cities, one of the Twin Cities. Can you make istighfar in your own language and do it 100 times, etc.? You can say whatever you like in your own language as long as it isn't haram, as long as it isn't shirk or kufr or something obscene. But the specific ibadah should be done in its original language. It should be done in its original language. So if you wish to sit down and have a majlis of istighfar, it should be in nothing other than the pure Arab tongue or Arabic tongue. No other language. Swahili, Somali, Hindi, no other language. As far as if you're walking down the street, you're driving your car, you're on your train, and you do something wrong, or you're talking and someone makes a joke, you say, Astaghfirullah, or you say it in your own language. Fear Allah. We say all the time, right? We say what? We say fear Allah. We don't say Ittaqillah necessarily. No, best. But not the specific majlis. No. Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah in the Lugha al-Arabiyyah. And Allah knows best. We have to understand that there are certain cultural values that will be dominated through or by the Arabic language and Arabic culture, whether you like it or what, or not. Not all, but some. Not all, but what? But some. And Allah knows best.
Initials MR from Woking, UK. Are board games like Monopoly, Ludo, and Snakes and Ladders in which you roll dice haram? May Allah honor you, Sheikh. We are extremely excited for your upcoming visit.
So where's the question come from with the initials again, please?
Woking, UK.
Woking, UK. Are board games such as Monopoly, etc. permissible in which you roll dice? You should avoid rolling dice. You should avoid playing games in which you roll dice. Is it haram? Was the dalil from Quran and Sunnah that gives a direct prohibition of rolling dice? And the wisdom behind that prohibition? That's a scholarly debate. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man la'iba bin nardi, or man la'iba nard ashir, فكأنما وضع يده في لحم الخنزير ودمه." Okay, man قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The authentic hadith, الثابت الصحيح, it says, he who plays with nard, or he who plays nard shir, as if he stuck his whole hand inside of a pig and came in contact with his flesh and with his blood. So this hadith clearly proves the permissibility or the impermissibility of playing nard shir or nard. Obviously, what is nard shir? What is this? Does it mean backgammon? Does it mean chess? Does it mean dice, CeeLo, craps? You start blowing and throwing. 7-Eleven, right? Act like you don't know, Akhi. The cultural references, you have to know, right? Some brothers, they drive to Atlantic City. They come to the lecture in the daytime and mysteriously leave at nighttime. I gotta go home, Sheikh. I'm tired. My body has rights over me. Why are you leaving? Akhi, come stay. I have a room for you. No, I need to go. Mysteriously, they come back, what? That fast. How'd you get back to New York? Allah knows best. Did they go to Harrah's or Caesar's Palace or the Borgata? Allah knows best, or did they actually go to New York City? Only Allah what? Truly knows. What's important is the hadith says he who plays with nard. What is nard? Is nard chess, shitranj? Is nard backgammon? Is nard dice or die, etc.? Knuckles, bones of animals, runes. What is meant by this? You read the explanation of this hadith, and you'll find many things in which the ulama agree, and many things in which the ulama differ. So can we decisively say that dice are haram to throw and to use? Can we say that? Secondly is, what's the wisdom behind this prohibition? And it's very important to understand this. Because some of the ulama, they say, مَا يَعْتَمِدُ عَلَى الْحَظِّ وَالنَّصِيبِ. In the explanation of this hadith, they mention two consistent themes behind prohibition. That which depends upon al-hadh and nasib, luck or chance. They say games of luck and chance, quote unquote, or games of chance are prohibited. They're what? Prohibited. And they say there's no actual skill, but it's based off of one's nasib, one's fortune. Everyone understand this? And obviously that's going to lead, or it could possibly open up the door to other things. Shirk and divination, etc. But does it mean that anything that's based off of chance and fortune is absolutely haram? One's fortune, when an archer hits a target, is it all skill? Is he not blessed? Is it not decreed for him to hit the mark and someone else is what? Not decreed. So it's a detailed issue with regards to this concept. So to say that it's haram to throw dice 100%, that's something that I can't say. Something that I haven't read decisively. Is it best to avoid? Yes. Everyone understand this? Some of them, if they say that backgammon is not, then it's haram. If that's what it actually is. But it's no agreement that that's necessarily backgammon, according to what I've read. Everyone understand this or not? As far as chess, then that's a different and an even longer discussion. Avoid the dice if you can. If you don't feel that it's haram and it's permissible leisure, and playing Monopoly is much better than your children sitting in front of a tablet all day or a computer or a television screen all day, then that's a different story. Obviously, how children were raised and back in the day is different how they're raised now. Playing Monopoly, you had to use some type of what? Skill, brain power. It taught you certain values from the Baltic, right? What does the poet say, huh? From the what? Pennsylvania to the Baltic, right? Nowadays, a child, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old can then just do what? Just watch Netflix all day, every day. Watch TV all day, every day. Play a game on the computer all day, every day. There's no skill. We're not saying there's no skill, but it's a difference. So one may say, you can't watch TV. TV's haram. Music's haram. The internet is haram. Electric games are haram. Video games are haram. What is there to do? Board games are also haram. Or board game without dice. Yeah, we have to be what? Mindful of the reality. And Allah knows best. Allah surely knows best. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fadli akhi. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question says, has there been anything mentioned about the permissibility or impermissibility of writing novels, short stories, poems, etc.? As far as writing a poem or poetry, then we know there's nothing wrong with poetry as long as it has a good meaning or as long as it doesn't have a foul meaning. Okay? And there were many companions, or obviously the well-known companion Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, he was the poet of Islam. And he used to defend the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And the Prophet instructed him to write poetry and defend him. And told him that Jibreel will be with you, support you. So poetry is permissible. As long as it is something which is valuable, something which is useful to the Muslims, and or as long as it isn't something which has a foul and obscene meaning. I would understand this. That's number one. As far as writing a book or a novel or a short story, the ulama of Islam, they say if it's a biography, if it's factual, then there's not necessarily nothing wrong with it. As far as if it's fictional or part fact and part fiction, then the scholars of Islam, they differ. And some of them say it cannot be done because it involves lying, and lying is haram. And others, they say it's permissible if there is a moral and a story to be taught. A person can make up a child's story, he can make up a short story, and which isn't true, but it's based off of reality, for the purpose of exhortation and the purpose of teaching and showing someone something. So that's in brief what the ulama of Islam say about poetry and what they say about writing books, short stories, novels, etc. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all success. What did the brother say, Alameen? Said, why did he what mention? That he reads novels. Can't read what? That's what someone else said. That's what the ulama of Islam say about writing a novel of what? Fiction. Some of them say it's what? Permissible. For that reason and with those guidelines. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.
Initials AZ, London, UK. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. What would be considering abandoning the sunnah and also not implementing knowledge? Is it upon me to implement and practice every sunnah I learn? And if I don't, would I fall into sin?
Question comes from London, UK, with the initials AZ. What is meant by abandoning the sunnah? And what is meant by not implementing or not acting upon when knowledge? Am I sinful if I don't implement everything that I learn, etc.? The people of Hadith, they've mentioned this and they've spoken about this in their books, pertaining to the etiquettes of the learner, the etiquettes of the master, the sheikh, the muhaddith, adab talib, the etiquettes of the learner of Hadith. And some of them, they say that there's a percentage, just like monetary assets. Every 200 hadiths that you learn, you implement what, at least? A certain percentage. You make your 2.5, your rubu al-ushr. Everyone understand this? So if you learn 1,000 different recommended acts, make sure that you're doing what? At least 2.5 of them. Once you have the nisab, make sure that you're doing something from it. As far as you don't implement anything, you don't do no sunnahs, miswak, prayer at night, giving charity, fasting. You don't do no recommended acts at all. And you've learned them. Obviously, you haven't paid zakat, right? Everyone else, well, it might differ. Is it from the sunnah or what? Or not? So it has to be from the sunnah. Secondly, what's the level of sunnah? Sunnah mu'akkadah? Something highly recommended, borderline obligatory? Something that's done in community, in jama'ah? Something that's public? Something that's once a year? Are you a leader? Are you in front of the people? There are different levels behind this. What's the condition? Are you traveling? Are you sick? They're different what? They're different levels. As far as just leaving off an act once or twice, a person gives priority. It doesn't mean you abandon the sunnah. But a person doesn't want to hear the sunnah. They don't want to implement it. We're Maliki. We're Hanafi. We're from this country. I'm black American. No, I'm not doing that at all. And to take that ignorant stance and position, then perhaps one can say this person is abandoning the sunnah or has abandoned the sunnah. That doesn't mean that you don't do something one day, or you don't wear a thobe, or you trim your beard, that you've abandoned the what? 100%. So it's detail. And it's hard to just broad brush the whole situation. It's difficult, and oftentimes you're going to fall into inaccuracy if you do that. Everyone understand this or not? As far as implementing the knowledge, as I just explained. Everyone understand this or not? As far as implementing the knowledge, as I just explained. Some parts of knowledge you have to implement. It's not an option. There are other things, other parts, which they're optional. And most importantly, as we have explained, with regards to the Prophet ﷺ being asked about the best deeds. Oh, Messenger of Allah, what are the best deeds? What's the most virtuous deed? Sometimes he said jihad fi sabilillah. Sometimes he may say martyrdom in Allah's cause. Sometimes spending in Allah's cause. Praying over your sin. Being kind to your parents, etc. And ulama of Islam, they explain that sometimes the Prophet ﷺ answers the question based off of the time and based off of the person. So in 2018, what's the best thing to implement of recommended acts? What's the best thing to stay busy with? You're a leader, you're not a leader. You're influential, you're not. It depends. Try your best to implement whatever you can. And if you're blessed enough to be like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, to try to strive and do all of those different acts in one day, then you're a very fortunate person. Allah knows best. This will be our last question, inshallah, tonight.
Initials 08, Tamakusa, North Cyprus. I really enjoyed listening to your videos on the heart and soul by Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn al-Jawzi. They were amazing and insightful and eye-opening. So Sheikh, please can we have some more?
Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, with regards to Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, perhaps that's what the questioner means. That's one person, Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah. As far as Ibn al-Jawzi, that's a different personality. That's a different personality. There's two different people, two different time zones, two different personalities. Ibn al-Jawzi is from the 6th century. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah. Never Jawzi. Al-Jawziyah. He's a student of Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, died in the 8th century. There's a difference between the two. I would understand this. Two different individuals. One was from Baghdad, and the other was from Syria. Two different people. So most of the classes that we do mention is Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya. His name is the son of the caretaker of the Jawzi school. Al-Madrasatul Jawziyya. So he's Ibn al-Qayyim. Al-Qayyim is a person who looks after, a custodian, a guardian. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Madrasatul Jawziyya. That's the actual breakdown of his what? Of his name. And that's not his actual name. Just like Ibn Rajab or Ibn Hajar, Ibn Taymiyyah is not his what? Actual name. Ibn al-Jawzi is not his actual what? Name. Some people say they had a walnut tree in a courtyard in a house in Baghdad. That's why it was called Ibn al-Jawzi. A Jawz. The son of the walnut tree house. Ibn al-Qayyim is different. At the end of the day, Bidhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully we'll do more Ibn al-Qayyim works and more series. And alhamdulillah, this is one of the few things that I take pride in. With regards to the videos that we do, is we try to spread Ibn al-Qayyim's kalam. One of my favorite authors. We try to mention him in the khutbah, in the classes, all of the time. Because his words are very impactful. They're very profound, even when they're translated. Let alone just how he thinks as a person. And what type of scholar he was. And what type of warrior Ibn al-Qayyim was. A holy monk, right? At the end of the day, may Allah bless you. Thank you very much for your feedback. Perhaps you can contribute to the channel yourself. Maybe you can make a compilation of Ibn al-Qayyim from our works. There are many, many, many classes for years from Ibn al-Qayyim. Write them down, transcribe them, summarize them, make a compilation. HadithDisciple, Ibn al-Qayyim's words. Contribute, give back, pay zakat, inshallah ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wa subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.